Hello, good evening, and thanks again for another edition of Ideas Exchange. Tonight, we are dedicating this program to the victims of the floods in part of the Volta region, the Eastern region, and Greater Accra region. I'm sure by now, many of you are aware of the devastation by floods as a result of the spillage of excess water in the Akosombo and Pong dams. The unfortunate thing is that this disaster is affecting very, very poor people. Over 10,000 very poor people, and I'm very, very specific about this. 10,000 very poor people who are farmers, who have depended on hand to mouth, people whose sole livelihood has been a result of what they can cook and sell and make money out of it. But in total, we are told over 26,000 people have been affected by the floods. That is the scenario we have as we speak. Now, apart from this, we are talking about a disaster that so appears that we may have failed in planning. Failed in planning because just recently there was an incident at Weja exactly 1 year ago, because it happened around October 2022. And so many would have thought that the Meteorological Services Department, the National Disaster Management Organization, the Water Resources Commission, the Ministry for Water Resources, Works and Housing, you are looking at the Ministry of Interior, all these stakeholders would have learnt lessons from the Weja disaster. And so they would have taken preemptive measures and forced evacuations to prevent the disaster we are seeing today. But unfortunately, that's where we are. The pictures I'm showing on the screen were taken only yesterday. These reflect the plight of many, many people who have been chased out of their homes. I'll just keep quiet for you to reflect on this same video, and when I come back, I'll tell you more about why you must be angry, why you must be touched, and why you should show compassion as we enjoy this program. On the screen, let me say thank you to Rich Dabos, who was with us at Mepe, at Didoma, yesterday when they were taking these shots. So we took advantage of their drone shots, and these are reflecting the picture on the ground. And as many as 60 communities in about 7 districts have been affected. I'm talking about Central Tong, 30 communities, South Tong, 22 communities, North Tong, 23 communities, 16 communities in Anglo, Keta, Shai Osudoku, Adan East, all in Greater Accra, and Esojaman in the eastern region. Now, think about this. These are homes for traders, investors, commercial farmers, businesses, hoteliers, real estate owners, ordinary Ghanaians who were forced to leave their homes and are now living as beggars, living or surviving on food ration that they receive from philanthropists. Now, the reason why we are having this conversation tonight is because of a few developments that have happened over the past few days. There was controlled spilling or spillage of excess water that started around the 16th of September. There was nothing to suggest that there will be disaster. All of us know, if you are a geologist or you did simple geography, you'd have known that water tables can contain water at a certain level. You would have also known that these are low-lying areas after or within the Volta basin. So as long as you continue to spill water, there should be monitoring teams who go around and then take samples of the soil and find out if it is gradually spreading to some of these beautiful homes. These are entire towns that have been cut off. Before I will introduce my guest, I'll tell you what XYZ Broadcasting is doing, because yesterday when we went to Mepe, to be specific, and Adidoma, we noticed that some people have already been touched. For example, we have the executive director of Benjamin Kwashi, who is the executive director of BKQ Foundation, who was at Mepe, to be specific, who was giving some support to Samuel Okujetua Blakwa and many people who have been suffering under his area. But before that, just reflect on what XYZ Broadcasting Limited has put together, because we are taking advantage of the lapse 5 days after government is expected to visit flood victims. We heard about the creation of a committee made up of entities which are empty, because these are same entities who should have known what must be done to prevent the suffering, the pain that poor people have to go through, the losses that people have to go through, and nobody is talking about compensation. I'm talking about the Ministry of Defense, Interior, Works and Housing. You are looking at sanitation, you are looking at local government, you are looking at Defense Ministry, National Security, all this, and I'll use the word deliberately and advisedly, all this nonsense that has been put together as a committee, minus the Ministry of Health that Ghana Medical Association was complaining about, because, and you will get to know that cemeteries, KVIPs, places of convenience, places where livestock live, rubbish dumps, all these have contained this contamination that we are seeing today. My guest tonight is a young man, is a business entrepreneur, and of course, is an indigene of the Volta region. And I brought him specifically because of all the areas where the devastation has taken place. The Volta region is suffering most. We are not suggesting that those at Esojaman or Adan East or Shai Osudoku are also suffering the impact of the floods, are not Ghanaians, but we are looking at those whose homes have been hit hard. He's called Don Emmanuel Agbanyo. He's a businessman, as I said earlier, and treasurer of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus. We'll be talking about that later at the end of the program. Now, when I was showing the video, first, good evening, and thanks for joining me on this program.
Thank you.
It was short notice. I was in your home region. I spent time around the enclave where you grew up. And it dawned on me that I should be speaking to somebody like you who may be in Accra, who may have investments back home, or relatives who have directly been hit by this. What was walking through your mind as you saw such homes consumed as we witnessed?
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Eric Ahianyo, it's a sad experience, very sad. very sad in the sense that we are seeing a man-made disaster. I call it man-made because, as I earlier on said on this medium, that indeed there were simulations that has widely been spread or publicized to see exactly what is going to happen if the dam reaches its peak. And that indeed I know for a fact, as a student who has studied security and intelligence management, and as a student that has studied law, I can assure you that per my research, when I was doing my project work on security and intelligence management, and specifically on these critical infrastructures, installations like the Akosombo Dam, we discovered that there are times where it reaches a specific level, there are submersible pressure transducers to measure where exactly the water has reached. And if it exceeds that level, what it can really cause, it can damage the dam or probably shut down electricity production. And they are aware of it. These engineers at the Volta River Authority that are overseeing these machines, these transducers that are measuring up the water level, knows exactly what it is that ought to be done. And I know for a fact also that within the National Disaster Management Organization, there is an emergency plan as to exactly what it is. If they have detected earlier, as far back as, let's say, June, July, where the water level was rising, they would have informed NADMO exactly what it is that ought to be done. Again, we can also point to the national security of Ghana. Indeed, national security does not just exist for this kind of show.
On the screen,
yes,
is the pressure that came out from the sluice gates when the dam was open. And all six were open.
And when you looked at it critically, Mr. Ahianyo, you would observe that once they opened the gate, some insensitive human beings like the engineers that were standing there were taking their cameras, phone cameras, and taking videos, and they were laughing.
And they were laughing.
They were laughing because it is something I said, that something that have been preempted, something that have been orchestrated, because you can't just be destroying even the livelihood of people, the farms that will bring food to our table, to our markets. You can't be doing that and be laughing. Aside that, you see homes that have been built with huge sums of money, of cedis, submerged, and you are laughing using your cameras. And in fact, I can say on authority that this thing, for me, if another government comes in place, those people, engineers at the VRA should be arrested and investigated. Even the president of Ghana should be called. You can come back to us in the studio. Let's have this conversation.
Yes.
No, they should be arrested because they are negligent for their duty. They are negligent. They neglect their duties. They slept on their job. They put lives and property at a jeopardy in a manner that ought not to have been done. And they make lives very miserable for the people of the Volta region. And Mr. Ahianyo, let me submit on this set that this, in any serious country, should have also be considered under the United Nations Human Rights Charter as a genocide, a modern genocide. Because indeed, when we talk of genocide, Mr. Ahianyo, when any acts or activity is directed to a certain group of people or ethnic group in a particular area in the country, that sought to cause harm, havoc, damage, that sought to destroy properties and life, that is indeed a genocide.
Some might suggest you are sounding ethnocentric.
This is not.
It is not. They gave them prior notice, though they may not have enforced it, or they didn't anticipate that the volume of water that gushed out from the sluice gate may have occupied such vast area as we see on the drone shot.
That's why I'm saying that it is sensitivity. It is, for me, it is deliberate. Why? Because if they know the magnitude of water if the gates are opened. You know, in constructing this dam, it is inculcated, it is embedded in the design that there should be gates that would let the water out gradually to the sea. And if you know the volume of water that is going to be pumped, it's going to spill over the banks or the channels which will carry the water to the sea. That should tell you that we aren't serious countries. And I'm saying that the engineers at the Volta River Authority should be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted for such a negligence, for such insensitivity to the lives of the people of Mefe.
I can imagine the pain. And while we are having the conversation, those of you who may have just joined us, this is Ideas Exchange. Our focus tonight is on the floods in parts of the Volta region. In fact, a greater part of the Volta region and the floods, I would say the impact is bigger than other regions, i.e. Greater Accra, Osudoku, Adan East, thereabout, and of course parts of Esojaman. I have been there and I'll share those videos with you later on this program. But you would notice that governance is such that you have the network of institutions. So you have NADMO, you have National Security, you have Ministry of Energy, you may have added the Ministry for Water Resources, Works and Housing, because these are structures. And of course, the district assemblies.
Yeah.
There's the issue about enforcement of evacuation plans. In the US, for example, whenever they anticipate disasters, whether it's hurricane or it is any form of rainfall pattern that is likely to flood a particular community, there are times when they enforce evacuation. Yeah. Would you say that we slept on the job because we don't have evacuation centers or shelters where we would have moved all these people, and so we leave them to their fate, and that is why you are angry this evening?
Yeah, I'm angry because, you see, these are something that ought to have been known. You see, when you are taken by an event and it's natural disaster, that indeed we call it in law an act of God in law, that everybody will be pardoned. But this very particular one,
it's an act of God.
It's a man-made disaster.
Some are saying it's an act of God because it's raining up north and water must come.
It is raining up north, that the meteorologists of the Volta River Authority and the meteorologists that works in conjunction with Ghana should know that the way the rain patterns are coming in will cause a rise in the level of the dam. And aside that, as I said, there are submersible pressure transducers who shows the level. You know, whilst contracting the dam, it should be inculcated. It is within our design and that of the National Security Emergency Plan and that of NADMO that indeed, when it reaches a certain level where it ought to be spilled, there should be through the gate,
control spilling.
There should be control spilling. This is not a control spilling. This is outrageous spilling. This is insensitive spilling because it is indeed cause havoc.
Now let's look at
that
this.
Are irreparable.
I understand you perfectly. Now back to the earlier question which you have answered, but to be specific, you have businesses in the area, just like your colleagues.
Exactly.
Some may be hotels, some may be shops, big shops.
Yeah.
I was told more than 6,000 cars have been buried under the water across the areas, in garages and so on.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the painful tears, let me put it in quotes, that people you know are sharing about the losses and their status today?
Indeed, these painful moments and experience are not far-fetched. One, if you wake up one day, you have no hope.
Let me cut you. I'm getting signals that people want to see the drone shot. So you can introduce them from time to time while we listen to Don Emmanuel Agbanyo. He's an indigent, he's a businessman, and of course, a politician. Let's go ahead.
The pain of the people of Mefe in the Volta region, in the North Tong districts, are not far-fetched. One, if you wake up one day only to realize that the home you toiled to build,
and you can watch the video,
home you toiled to build is no more, and you cannot return home, that alone I said it is an act, it's a crime against humanity. And that will cause so much psychological torture, psychological disarray. It will cause psychological disarray to many of those homes.
So people are psychologically traumatized
already. And then they cannot ever, under this economic hardship in Ghana, they cannot gather money again, put up those houses ever again. And those who own hotels, big hotels, people go there to have
the riverfront.
Yes, their business are shut down, their properties destroyed, their vehicles submerged. That should tell you that they have lost millions of Ghana cedis, which of course they can never recoup again. And the annoying thing, this afternoon when I was listening to the news and I heard that the Minister of Agric is saying that they have put aside some $40 million to support the farmers. Are they going to farm on the waters when they cannot even access the land?
But the water will recede.
That is pretentious, and I see, sometimes I am surprised that they are thinking that Ghanaians, we are stupid. Excuse my language, but I think that they are rather not wise. They are not wise at all. Why would you be allocating funds? You are not allocating funds to buy a helicopter to monitor when the water was being spilled, to see where exactly is passing, to say that, hold on, let's channel it, or let's dredge the channels.
If they had held on, as the engineers are saying,
no,
the dam would have
They
crashed.
are aware of this thing when they were doing the spillage, the stimulation. And so they cannot play innocence. Anybody who is playing innocence about this thing, I can assure you, is a criminal. And I am saying that they should be arrested and prosecuted.
Now, the president was there recently.
Is he?
Hold on. The president was there recently. Many people were crying about the silence of government, especially on Thursday, Friday, when he was traveling out of the country, that the president should be speaking because he was talking about Morocco when they had the earthquake. The president has been there and has given assurance to the people.
It's pathetic. You see, even whilst we were calling, I remember coming on this media and said that how come they are showing, the president was showing solidarity to far away Morocco, was in your country where you swore an oath to protect all manner of people. There is a disaster. That same happened in Kita. When there was the tidal waves, and that thing also happened currently, and you are showing solidarity. And even when he eventually visited the place, Mr. Ahianyo, I was crying, I was shedding tears.
Why?
Because that is not a place for political jargons, political
but
playing
I've
with
heard
words.
people put up defense. Let's listen exactly to what the president said.
Yeah, because Ghanaians are having difficulties and are suffering. And it is my responsibility to try and help. Because if it's a question of counting who votes for me and who doesn't vote for me, I shouldn't be here, because you don't vote for me. But that is not my concern. And in any event, one day you will vote for me.
So, Don, would you say the president was smiling, and some have suggested that he was just cracking a joke, but was the scenario or the setting speaking to people who are already traumatized, who are thinking of the losses? I'm told a teacher was teaching at a facility about 7 kilometers from where he lives. So he's a teacher 7 kilometers away from his school. Yeah. Yesterday I got this information when I went to the village. Now when he got wind of the fact that the water is moving fast to their communities, he left the school, moved almost 7 kilometers into the community where he lives. And before he got there, the water was already on his knee level, and then within some few minutes, it was at the chest level. And that teacher is at one of the centers holding the victims, and has since been in the same trousers and shirts, the same boxer shorts till date. Not even toothbrush with him as we speak. Why would you think that the president's message, which was just to ease tension, was an insult to the people?
Let me educate Ghanaians on this. As a student of psychology, if an issue happened far away in Morocco, was the president joking, making play of whatever condolence or support or encouragement he was giving to the people of Morocco? No. And this is your land. You are the head, the father of the nation. There is no need whatsoever pointing to whether who votes for you or not. That is unnecessary. That is the below the bar, below the belt. Something that ought not have been said at all. Because if you know, indeed, as he rightly put it, that Ghanaians are suffering, what did he go there to commiserate with them?
Promise them.
Promise. That is an empty. That is pretentious. This president, I must say, is pretentious. And I will call on the United Nations and the ECOWAS and all that to call him to order, because he's pretending to be acting or protecting and protecting the life and property of this nation. Because I don't see what in the world would make somebody say, you don't vote for me, and I'm just coming to help Ghanaians who are suffering. What in the world? You first bring water to somebody who is thirsty. You first bring food to somebody who is hungry. You first bring clothes to somebody who is naked, just as it is stated in the scriptures. Then you can now say you are giving support or you are coming to solidarize with the people. But coming to promise is empty, it's pretentious, it's even showing his posture. As you watch it.
You are suggesting he doesn't care?
He doesn't care. Let's put it in clear terms.
Well, the topic tonight,
we are Ghanaians.
The topic tonight,
we are Ghanaians, and I'm saying that this, under the United Nations Charter on Human Rights, is a genocide. It's a genocide that ought to be critically looked at, and some people who are involved should be arrested. Okay. At this time, investigated and prosecuted.
I'll come back to you. The topic tonight is Volta flood disaster, anger justified. Obviously, he's trying to justify why those affected must be hungry, but must be angry. Now, as we speak, XYZ Broadcasting Limited and together with Impact, we are trying to put together some resources. It can be clothes, it can be food, it can be all kinds of grains, it can be detergents, what the women use. We call them sanitary pads, etc., pampers for kids, and of course the aged. It can be medicine and so on. You bring them to us. We have Momo numbers that we shared in the course of this program, as you see on the screen, 059-721-5419, so that you send it to us, and I'm sure this Saturday we'll make our first trip to one of the affected communities or some of the selected affected communities to make a presentation, and the subsequent days will continue, because VRA is suggesting this may continue till the end of this month. After the end of this month, what we know is that it will take about 2 weeks to 4 months for some parts of the flooded communities to get dry to normal before people can go back to the same habitation and so on. But this program is just looking at the frustration people have gone through. Now, the Volta MP's caucus have issued a statement, and I killed part of that statement, and it reflected the anger that is being exhibited by Don Emmanuel Agbenyo. And I'll read. It says, we also note with deep concern similar unguarded comments by the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, who ignorantly stated that the flood victims should not expect any intervention from the NPP government because of their voting pattern. For the president to choose no other platform to poke those who did not vote for him in the eye, but use a congregation of flood victims To do the low-level politics is not only irresponsible, but wicked, very instructive.
Yeah.
One would have thought that the president would have used soothing words on this occasion. We would have expected the president to encourage the victims and assure them of the nation's readiness to stand by them at this difficult time. We would have expected the president to boldly announce specific interventions that are quantifiable and which would go a long way to ameliorate the people's grief and despair. That's an aspect of the statement. It continues, as characteristic of the president, however, he elected to use this forum to engage in irresponsible politicking bereft of tact and wisdom. Mr. President should have, the quantum, I want to state that again. Mr. President, should the quantum of votes as president gets from different parts of the country be weaponized to this low level? Should you be singing this kind of discriminatory song at the twilight of your tenure as president of this wonderful republic? We condemn these unsavory and ethnocentric comments by Mr. Akufo-Addo and urge all well-meaning Ghanaians as well as sound minds in the NPP to rise to the occasion and rein in the president. Emmanuel Kwesi Bejra, Chairman, Volta MP's caucus. Are you suggesting that these are appropriate words? I would say, or critics might say, they are quite harsh for a president, for such words to be used as irresponsible or taking people for granted.
Mr. Eric, it's appropriate. These are the choicest words for somebody who plays the ostrich in this time of difficulties for the people of Mefe in the Northern District. You see, our Constitution and then the Human Rights Chapter 5, you see that the president, some of the rights protected under the 1992 Constitution, is that the protection of the rights of life, personal liberty, slavery, and forced labor, protection of privacy of home and other property, and protection of protection of fundamental human rights. Trust me, these people who are displaced have their rights taken from them. They have no home, access to home. And when you go there, what you need to do is for you to say, you have provided so and so homes conducive to get them off the psychological trauma. That will be consoling enough to be a word coming out from a president of the nation or father figure of the nation.
Which was reflected in the statement by the minority.
Yes.
Hold it. I told you we were at Mepe and Adidoma yesterday, and Zibakpa, one of those communities. I went there with Wisdom Hedejome. I was there with Odefo Bechi. I was there with Same, our cameraman, of course, Albert, our driver. And we had some quite harrowing experience. I came back touched, and we stopped over at the Sokwagofa Bridge. And this bridge that you see, it has flooded such that just at the junction of the bridge, just before you climb the bridge, it was so full that those story buildings just around the junction, after you go through where the community where Rollins's house is, what's the name of the place?
Sokwe.
No, yeah, I'm talking about Sokwe.
Yeah.
Sokwe is where we took these pictures. And it had flooded to the community, and this far away from where the Akosombo Dam is.
Yeah.
Even though the water is being channeled into the sea under the bridge, you realize from Odefo Bechi's brief narration he did as we continue to watch this video that people were fishing in their homes. Now, this is Sokwe. Look at this. He's fishing in his home. Fishing.
Yeah.
That tells you how it went. And so, therefore, let's listen briefly to what he was saying. Yeah. So, you will notice that what we did was that we wanted people to have a feel of what was happening. And so you realize that we just walked from the Sokwe, that's the main road, and then you walked down. People were frying yam, roasting plantain, I bought roasted plantain from the area. And that's the community. Look at it. Apart from what we had seen. Now from there, we crossed over to Adidoma. And from Adidoma, we went to 2 island communities which were flooded. So you see me there, and then you notice that we're walking down a hilly area to the river path. And we were told that 2 communities had been already swallowed by water. And these two women, one is a queen mother and an old lady. In fact, I was very afraid because we never anticipated they would compel us to go with them across this small channel, which was not flooded. This is a farm area. And while she's paddling us out of where we walked towards, you would notice that the plantain trees, the water had risen to the level of the neck. Let's listen to Wisdom Hedejuma.
Esan se insunu eyiri ntino ne ababiridi ni ya ajet na koduomu na yepia eko ekodu baby foforo ansana yetumi atwa yakwantu obuso
nanka se wo hwa se ne ha nyina no etie no nanka ente sa bebia mfuye na no esi no eho echi na nanka nsuo no ewo but ene esan se nsuo no eyiri aba ha nyina ntino ama omo wo echi ha nyina no eyade a ene omu entumi enko se wamba beto sa boat ye oha na yamfa wo entwa enya de a obetumi etwa nsuo no oha akọ eye oba ahema wo krom ha mensaka no.
My name is Mama Megblewbe, the second from Bakpa Avadiwekoma. It has taken over the whole communities and people's lives have been displaced. My kin and I were able to make them cross over with the use of the canoe and some life jackets. Those are the things that we use with them to cross over to the other side of the community.
How is the situation?
Okay, we need things like sanitary, foodstuffs. The water has taken over the cemeteries, the toilets facilities, and they've come into the water bodies which our people are using because there is no water that they can use for the meantime. This is the water they are using. So we want the government to help us with good drinking waters, foods, in fact, anything that they can give us to sustain our lives for the meantime. We want the government to help us with those things.
Tebiano. Eti ewo esan se so far no sa community yenim se nkrofo oha eni ebia wobetna. Give me an appreciation of how this community looks like. The people who live here, what exactly they do.
They normally fish, they normally farm. Farming is what they depend on, and fishing is what they use. They also do for a living. But when you come to them right now, the place has been condemned, and some of them stays there. They thought they are safe. So how then should we counter for them so that they will come back to the other side? So we speak with the government, we speak with people that will support us. We are pleading that they should help us. They should come along with anything that can help us to sustain our life for now.
Na yehu abranti bi I'm sure say or call bia insuo na jano because sa canoe and I say kudo ye de buy and no so na o de be ko mami bisa no baby oko phone. How are you?
I'm fine.
Fika na lay
Mayan nyapala eshemgi.
Fika goji
Akrodom le shemgi.
You never chi amava afia fika na no nyamle
Togudugam.
Mavavama. Well, okase oko akwako horo ne niama esanse sisi ade nsuo no aba na nye sade ankobeko nsuo neja na ene ohwe na ochese osuro de na nso no oni option bi ase obeko na wakwako horo ne niama.
Just a little, because the women who ferried us across that small stretch wanted us to cross the bigger one where you saw a boat and those life jackets. And I said, Debida, no, I will not go because look at my weight. Those two women cannot pull me out of the water. But that's just on a lighter side, but it's a serious issue. Wisdom will wrap up this conversation with a conversation he had with the chief of the area, the community. And then let's listen to him briefly and then we'll take a break.
Joyale kino wa fi kwa mokato va fie manya ba anyigba o fia ka mi den agble manya ba fia o mi den afu alo mi den agble blon kata o anyigba kata va agble ale
akwa man la ngudodo manami o tade ahia va kom mi afa agble o amo fa agble o la fima ka o fa nududu o wa cho ha o meten che o afifila mi la nu fuma nududu nya o la fu de male gbegbe ta shi blamia po agblemonuko kata le island aji island ajamo la fi ma agble de la wonye we have a palm plantation de gbele la fi ma o si na de jrana asigbe ko wa mo wona mi nyanu wo la fi ma ka school view wa onye nyefe taro nyefe ani afia nyefe nbebe to ele nyefe tamafia school ma go ngala school imo abo school ya tele mi antila afia ha school ha is overpopulated eta o ma ti wan ga yo ta ma bia chu amo si jududu asiba na jagba no aba wona na the view de wa to anu nu srom gbo hafi na mi ano ehia fa sinu pom ke ko mi nyare yi manu ya le totogo.
Nana nyoka nyina ne se ohwe se sisi ane de ade a asefem esan se won fudie nyina asai school asai mofra intumi nko school bio intani monimo ya no aban emmoa na nkrakra moa na wohia.
That was how we wrapped up, and the road you see yesterday around 8-9 p.m. was when we were leaving the community. I deliberately used my phone to take these videos for you to see where the people are now perching after their homes have been cut off or their communities have been cut off. We'll be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up on this conversation, and I'll talk to him about something different, politics, where I would introduce him this time as the treasurer of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus. His colleague is here. Last week, they inaugurated this caucus with an objective. But when we return from the break, we'll wrap up on this Volta thing. Again, repeat the need for you to join the cause to raise support for the flood victims. And then we'll call a shot to today's edition of Ideas Exchange.
We no TV so say so na fan microphone na last week so yakwe me sure na sana so no akọ microphone fie no na me so me ba se me be kakra me so me de ba se me ba be bua no na me hu ne ekoso na betimi ato bia enye won pese emrasa.
We have here drinks, water and some clothes for the victims. God bless you. God bless you. It's coming from Reverend Valerie here, owner of Zoe International School and the founder of Zoe Gospel Ministry in North Kaneshi.
We listen a lot to your program and we were touched. Hey, we are from the same place, so we just do the best we can. Yeah, so these are widow's mites.
Do it as a my day. Take a criminal. And then a man tar and a Casayama, instead of other bow. I want to show once, and me pebble. Do you have a Kawama woman? And me a crappy me. And my man watching Puku. Do Matessa a cow, or some common man was meant to be in Casa, Bonnie Buswini. Obia, you'll be a new. Take a criminal and a boy.
Oh, at any dry fish, I had any pampers, any muko, any bucket, no, they buy any scar, any rice, any scar. Miss Unia, me only say, Miss Rama for say, Echo Makuma, now moo. Or moo say a young and I no more so call Makuma na, or Mombra no Mufaka Kramusu, or more no Mufebua, Yenua or more Volta.
We just want to encourage each and everyone to help support the victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage in the Volta region. You can bring your drinks, your water, your clothes, your food to support this worthy cause, as our brothers and sisters need our support at this very, very moment. God bless you as you do as such in Jesus' name.
Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary. So many activities, all in the same purpose. Visit the gym or the stables, they have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting. They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have yourself.
Your betting game just got better with WinSlot. Do you want to know how? Let's find out. WinSlot is a legit gaming platform that offers you exciting wins and bonuses. As the top gaming platform in Africa, we offer packages you can't refuse. We've got 70 plus amazing games like the Aviator games, spins, slots, dice games, and many more. And the perk is you're guaranteed a user-friendly interface, a fast loading speed, free deposits, and super fast withdrawals. And all the cash outs are in real time. So what are you waiting for? Register for free at www.winslots.com.gh today and win big with WinSlots now. WinSlots, win some. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18 years. Gaming can be addictive.
Welcome back. This Ideas Exchange on TV XYZ. Tonight our focus has been on the flood victims in parts of Greater Accra, parts of Eastern, and of course the bigger chunk of victims in the Volta region. My guest has been done, is Emmanuel Agbenyo, who is a businessman, he's a philanthropist, I know, of course. He's also the treasurer of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus. This is a caucus made up of all those who lost the intention to become the candidates of the NDC towards the 2024 elections, who have come together to support the party, to support the candidates they lost to, and of course to make sure the NDC wins the 2024 elections. Just before we wrap up, you tell us more about the launch which happened last Friday, how the response has been, and what the strategy will be. But I have a few messages I want to read. This one is from Nana Amenin. He's watching us via Facebook, and he says, Eric, VRA went to sleep. They took it as one of the usual annual rituals that they announce, and it does not happen. Sway Senior says, this government is a joke. Chris Dollar says, government give Volta region to Germany and America to rebuild the region and allow them to take every single resource, and you'll be surprised at what you can find on the land. Sell the land to foreigners, and that is simplicity. Now, Hassan bin Abdullah, Foli Sawe, says Akufo-Addo is Kronti Akufo-Addo, so don't be surprised when he acts as such. I won't repeat the rest because that is quite strong. And then we have Chris Dollar says, okay, I've read that one. The other messenger says, your guest is superb. He's a young man, and I believe that he has been bold enough to say it as it is. Bravo, keep it up. This one is from Eric Senche, who sent this message via Facebook. Now, let us also look at the way forward. Of course, the videos you saw, courtesy Rich Dabos, a friend of mine who we met at Mape and the Doma area yesterday when we were going around. I told him I want your drone shots, and he has been very generous sharing them with me. And I believe that before we wrap up, my producers will let you have a feel of the devastation, at least to help us whip up interest in this support XYZ Broadcasting and MPAC have initiated. Now, those who have lost their properties, I'm looking at the hotels, the businesses, those who have their provision shops, our mothers and fathers who are poor in the communities, who have their chochoba, small like bread to mouth. What do you expect should be the best way to help them rebuild after the water?
Very much. Indeed, as I rightly put it, this crime of this magnitude ought to be solved this way. I were expecting the President of the Republic of Ghana, President Nana-Addo, to go there and allocate funds for settling, first and foremost, the victims of this intentional and man-made disaster that has taken them out of their homes. And as I said, according to the UN Human Rights Charter, Article 2, if you inflict any bodily pain or mental
or
pain,
you take the people through
any such things, they are crime.
Okay,
they are crime against humanity.
But you see,
and then I'm saying that what he ought to do is to first and foremost allocate funds.
Would you expect that the people should sue VRA, sue government, or
yes,
take back
that will happen. Please, Ghanaians, with the greatest of respect, we have to sue the VRA, engineers, the management. We have to sue even the government of Ghana, even at the International Court of Justice. We have to sue them.
Why?
For this negligence, because they are preview to what exactly will happen. If not, then we don't have intelligence as national security of the country. We don't have intelligence. And as a student of intelligence and security management, I can assure you they do have. And NADMO, that's the National Disaster Management Organization,
but some are saying NADMO should be scrapped. It is like it's an entity which has employed people, many of them party apparatchiks, who are paid on monthly basis, and the money that could have been saved into the contingency fund that would have been used to address disasters like this have been spent on V8 cars for staff, and when there is disaster, they only go in and write names, and then that's all. But some fear that even with the little VRA has given out to NADMO and they are distributing, the distribution is being done on a discriminatory basis. And therefore, what is the guarantee that if, like the Agric Minister said in a pledge that $40 million, they have data on those whose businesses may not have been registered, but they still survive as human beings on their own?
Yeah.
How are they going to look at that? What would you recommend is done to these people who may live in poverty forever because of this disaster?
You see, as I said, funds per the present basis, you should have gone to assure them, giving them assurance that funds are already allocated, not will be allocated.
They are all assurances.
Funds have already been allocated. That assurance will be more refreshing and more consoling than funds will be allocated.
Now,
when these funds are allocated, they know the headcounts of those living in that area within the districts at the local government
or the statistical
services. They have data on all these things, and so they begin to disburse these funds immediately.
You think government can do it?
And aside that,
Ghana is
as
broke.
it is right now, there should, per what President John Dramani Mahama said, there should be the president of Ghana should declare a state of emergency immediately, without delay, because per Article 31 of our Constitution, he ought to do that, since he realized that part of his country is in dire havoc, dire problem, which ought to be solved, and then seek for what? International assistance. Even if there's helicopters that will patrol, if there are drones that will go around to make sure that people who are still maybe in their various houses are saved. But that is not being done.
Now, let's look
that
at
should
this.
tell you that indeed we are not serious country.
No,
the leadership of this country is joking with the people of Mepe.
Government will tell you it's not Mepe alone. We have Adidoma, we have South Town,
we are talking about
Central Town.
Yes,
we are looking at all those areas.
Exactly.
But just as this conversation will not look like we've singled out one.
Yeah,
let's talk of. We are looking at Esojaman. We are looking at Esojaman. We are looking at Dan East. We are looking at Shai Osudoku. We are looking at South Town, North Town, and then Anglo. We are also looking at Central Town, and of course, to some larger extent, part of Keta, I am told, is also getting flooded.
Keta has
now, government, the president says, Energy Ministry, Defense Ministry, National Security, Interior, Local Government, Works and Housing, Finance, Lands and Natural Resources, Environment, Information, Mabrempo.
Now, tell me, as of yesterday, when you were there,
is this not assurance enough that it's almost like his cabinet has been put together to address this issue?
You see, as of yesterday, when you went there, what is being done at the centers that the victims are being camped? Nothing.
I saw NADMO there.
If you see people who are giving food, clothes, giving water to these people are generous Ghanaians who are sympathizing with this flag.
Yesterday we came across, is it the Petroleum or Tanker Drivers Union or Owners Union?
Yeah.
Were at Adidoma, who made a presentation to the MP for the victims. Of course, XYZ Broadcasting will most likely to be going there on Friday or Saturday, courtesy all our viewers and all those who listen to our radio stations and ordinary Ghanaians who want to give us that support.
I say the president, even in constitute these committees or whatever interministerial committees, should at least declare a state of emergency to call for help, so there can be powerful machines that can dredge the pathways of the water into the sea for the water to flow. That is an act of consent
and this is just one of the, and I think this is what happened yesterday when we went to Adidoma. Yes, this is what happened yesterday when we went to Adidoma.
And this was being done by
individuals.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That the seriousness of this government should be that
the tanker drivers association or tanker owners, whatever association, they did this donation. But just before we go, we don't have much time.
Yeah, let me appeal to all meaning Ghanaians and foreigners within the jurisdiction to come to the aid of all these victims of these man-made disasters or flood. They should go in there with all they can, because indeed they will be preaching the gospel of loving your neighbor. Everyone that cares about this nation should step in quickly, but we are still appealing to the president that he shouldn't sleep on this mandate.
There is one video in what we put together when Wisdom and I visited the area. I'm sure I deliberately put it in that video, but I think when I was speaking, for some reason, they came to me in the studio, we missed it. I saw two young boys. One was wearing just nothing, around 8 p.m. on Sheshe.
Yeah.
And I pulled that video. Yes. Look at this video.
They've lost everything.
Just take out the yes. He was not wearing anything. And I took this video when I saw them, and it was when Wisdom was doing it on Sheshe.
Yes.
I asked him, I said,
yes. So we should be able to send clothes. There should be helicopter delivering essential goods, clothes.
Well,
and many supports to the victims of these floods.
Now, before we wrap up, I introduced you as the treasurer of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus. As a parliamentary
National Caucus of NDC Parliamentary
National Caucus of NDC Parliamentary Aspirants. So I made a mistake when I said NDC Parliamentary Caucus. National Caucus of NDC Parliamentary Aspirants. You launched this last Friday.
Yeah.
I have some video that I think if they can pull it, pleading with the production team. Yes, let's listen.
Has a long way to go, and has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
So I see Bacha there holding the microphone, and I was wondering how whether he was singing or he was miming, because not everybody has good voice. But you launched this last Friday. That's on a lighter note. How has it been so far? What has been the response across the country, and what is the drive? We are spending some few minutes to wrap up on this.
Yes, indeed. National Caucus of NDC Parliamentary Aspirants, as you rightly stated, we are those who contested as parliamentary aspirants within the 275.
And you were whipped.
Yes, we were unsuccessful.
Yeah. I like the choice of word, unsuccessful.
Yes, we were unsuccessful, but that doesn't mean that we should detach or we should go independent or we should cause the party to lose.
But I understand some of you are still bitter.
Yes, you know, it is difficult to brood over this pains, but it takes a gradual process. You can't just force somebody to take a bitter pill and expect not to feel, frown the face. And that indeed cannot happen. But in as much as we are trying to unite the rank and files of all former aspirants to make sure that Victory 2024 is assured and is delivered to His Excellency the President in the waiting, President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, we are happy to outdoor ourselves as a powerful caucus. We are indispensable caucus. We are forced to reckon with. I say so because on this ground that we are the one that supports the party base, the branches. I am also even a branch chairman of my party.
But your case is interesting. Maybe 1 minute to wrap up on this, because you lost to Edem Agbana by 1 vote. And there was supposed to be...
Our Captain of lost only 1 vote. One vote.
And that was supposed to be rerun, and then you decided to listen to the advice of friends, the party leadership, or people of influence. Now, how difficult is it to come out of such slim margin and to be the mouthpiece of those who are rallying party aspirants together to support the party?
Cutting off is such a place such that when the people decided that they're going to vote for you, and it happens that the results are out, anybody who goes against the results, but what we know, the practice is that we know there is another time where elections will be conducted, and if they vote for you, meaning that if you are the one who emerges as the winner, everybody else must support you. If you are not supporting the one who wins, then we see you as a traitor. We see you as somebody who is betraying the victory of the party. That indeed is a kind of the culture we normally nurtured in Kachinov specific. And so when you are beaten with only 1 vote,
it's still the same.
You would want the vote to be counted again and again, and if they counted it and it's still 1, you would want to protest, you would want to agitate, and probably want to take another step. But if it's not for this caucus, national caucus of NDC parliamentary aspirants, I can assure you many people would have gone independent. And let's not belabor this point that some people think are very complacent, that they can do it on their own. They are leaders of the party from the constituency to the region to the... No, let me tell you, everybody who holds any position have only 1 vote. And we, the very people who had gone to sponsor the party at the base, at the branches, we do have the finances, we do have the resources to make sure we will rally, mobilize the people, rally the people to vote for the party and the presidential candidate.
Don Emmanuel Ahianyo, I'm sure you have enjoyed him tonight. Many of you may have seen him for the first time on my program. Actually, I didn't anticipate that he would sound very fiery this evening, but I can tell you that the feedback I'm getting suggests that they have enjoyed his output. He's an indigent, that's why he sounded very passionate. He's a businessman, treasurer of the NDC, that's the National Caucus of NDC parliamentary aspirants. My name is Eric Koku Ahianyo. See you again, and thanks for watching.